Hey beautiful people, it's your girl Ashalei here to help transform your life. Before we get started, a little housekeeping. Make sure you like this video at the end, share with someone who you think could be inspired, and don't forget, make sure you subscribe. That way I can keep up with your own transformation. Nothing that I'm talking about you are doing alone. I'm doing the work, I'm still doing the work, and I will continue to do the work. So why not do it together? Moving forward, today we're going to be talking about crucial conversation. A crucial conversation is a conversation that needs to be had that is not always going to feel good. We know what type of conversations those are. We've had them, and sometimes they go left instead of going right. How do we have an effective conversation with somebody, especially when it's about your feelings, a position that you were put in that was out of your control, somebody's behavior that caused you to feel a certain way, what somebody said or did to you that made you feel bad? We got to talk about it, right? You're not going to just let things happen to you. You're not going to say anything. We're covering just the basics. Little disclaimer, that's all we're doing. We'll go deeper into it, but leave me a comment and let me know like some things that you use to have an effective conversation, because this is huge and it's been coming up a lot for a lot of people the last 2 weeks. Let's get to it. Number one, pray. I do this all the time. I do it very often. Doesn't matter if it's big or small. Anytime I'm about to have a conversation with somebody, I pray. If you don't know what to say, ask God to show you. A simple prayer that I use and use very often, and you can use it too, is, Lord, please give me what to say and show me how to say it. Amen. Simple. Because the moment that you ask for help, you're gonna get help. And you best believe you're gonna get that help. Number two, before you even get into a conversation, sit down, take a moment and think, do I really need to have this conversation? A lot of times we say things and we actually shoot ourselves in the foot because we're talking about things that doesn't need to be said. So by taking the time to actually really sit there and think, do I need to have this conversation, will save you a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of emotions that you probably don't even need to take yourself through. Number three, before you even talk to somebody, the most respectful and the most feared question at the same time is, can we talk? I know men oftentimes do not like this question. Can we talk? Is it a good time to talk? Yes. Let me tell you, this question sets you up for having a good conversation. I'm gonna tell you why. When you approach somebody and you say, hey, is it a good time to talk? You're really respecting somebody's mental space, somebody's time, somebody's emotions, and really setting the conditions up for having a good conversation. Let's say I go to Bob. Now, Bob has a very stressful job. He is, let's say, a part-time contractor. That's like his little side gig, right? But his main job is he's a nurse. He's in and out of hospitals. He's dealing with people who are sick. He's dealing with his own children. He's doing little side jobs to get some extra money. And I go to Bob and I go, Bob, is it a good time to talk? And Bob's response is, you know what, not right now. Let's say Bob is not in a good headspace. Whatever I have to say is really gonna go through one ear and out the other, or received in a way that I did not intend. It's a respect thing. By asking somebody, is it a good time to talk? Can we talk? The time is not then. Set time aside to actually have the conversation. Having a crucial conversation, it requires self-reflection, active listening, taking responsibility, coming to an understanding, and honesty. All of those have to go into having a crucial conversation, especially when you're talking about something that is very serious to you. It's just a very good idea not to have a serious conversation blindly. You don't want to just pop up on somebody and say, you know what, I have to tell you, blah, 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 blah. You may not get the type of response you really want, and I guarantee you, you're not going to have a good conversation. I've tried it, it's not fun, you don't want to do it. Number four, never go into the conversation thinking that you're going to change the situation or the person by manipulating them with your words. This is a huge one. I see a lot of times that people will compliment somebody and then also point out their weaknesses. That's not constructive. Do not say things just to get a response or an outcome out of a person with your words. Especially if it's not true. Degrading, you're being mean, disrespectful, and rude, being nitpicky, you're being controlling, you're telling somebody how they should feel, think, or that they were wrong about how they felt or thought. Like, you don't want to be the agitator. Trust me, that crosses lines. You do not want that done to you. Number five, stick to the facts. If a person did a thing, the person did the thing. Stick to that. Stick to the facts. don't know how somebody felt, you really don't know how they were thinking, and you don't know why they did any of what they did. You don't. Don't start acting like you're God, thinking that you know everything about this person. You don't. Stick to the facts. If something was said, you stick to that. If something was done, you stick to that. Number 6, always tell your truth. Always tell your truth. I have to say this again. Always tell your truth. If you felt a certain way, if you thought something, if you caught some type of vibe, if you have a certain emotion or a feeling, if you have an insight or idea, state your truth. Always tell your truth. Number 7, understand that every action has a reaction. Let me give you an example. If I walked into a room full of people and Bob, my friend, was kind of standing near the entrance, and I walk in and I scan the room and then I just take off and I go somewhere else, right? And Bob later on hits me up and goes, "Hey Ashalei, you made me feel like you didn't like me. I saw you come in and it looked like you saw me, but you didn't say anything to me. You just walked away. That made me feel like you didn't like me." Every action has a reaction. My behavior made somebody feel like I didn't like them. That's a trigger point for them, because they've probably been in situations where somebody really didn't like them and they did exactly that to them. That's why I said taking responsibility is really crucial to having an effective conversation. I have to recognize I did something that made somebody else feel a certain type of way. Let's say that Bob never said anything. Bob just was like, you know what, I'm not gonna say nothing to Ashalei. I'm gonna just let it be. And then next thing you know, there's another event. I show up, Bob's there, me and Bob don't speak. And I feel like, hey, Bob doesn't like me. He didn't say anything to me tonight. What's up with that? I have to recognize that beforehand, my behavior made him react a certain way. And now he really doesn't know how to approach me. And that's just a maturity thing. We have to understand that our behavior really does affect other people's responses to what we do. We don't have to take responsibility for what they do, but we have to take responsibility for our own behaviors. If it made somebody feel like I didn't like them by not acknowledging them, the next time I will acknowledge them, because I don't ever want somebody to feel like I don't like them. Last but not least, number 8, don't rehearse this conversation in your head like you were already having it. Your brain does not know the difference between reality and something you're making up in your head. You don't want to psych yourself up or set yourself up for failure by rehearsing a conversation in your head and it's going left. If you must visualize or think about or rehearse this conversation in your head, think about the positive outcome that will come. Do at least that. Don't think negative about the person. Don't think negative about the situation. Stick to the facts. Always tell your truth. Take responsibility that your behavior will affect other people's responses and approach to you in the situation. But you don't want to come to a point where you're obsessing about it, where it makes you physically sick to your stomach, where you just can't think, you can't focus, you have no mental clarity. That is the type of rehearsing I'm talking about. I've done it. I know a lot of people do that, where you just that conversation you've had a million times in your head. Sometimes the conversation either goes that way or it doesn't go that way. It's better to give yourself a fighting chance from the rip by thinking positive, thinking about the positive outcome. Those are just 8 tips that I use to have an effective conversation. Doesn't matter what it's about, but by praying, thinking about, do I really need to have this conversation? Is it gonna waste my time or deplete me of my energy? I've had this conversation multiple times with people. Sometimes it's not always best to have this conversation again. So you will probably just walk away and leave it alone, and that's okay too. Having a crucial conversation is essential for growth, closure sometimes, to move forward, to get a better position, to protect yourself, to protect your energy, to protect your family, to protect your job, your position, whatever it is, to protect your kids, your spouse, your partner, whoever it may be, including you. These conversations, they need to be had, and they don't always feel good, but that's okay. At the end of the day, never underestimate the power of telling your truth. It may never change the situation. However, it will give you peace of mind to know that you effectively had a conversation with somebody that was a serious conversation. Once you're in this habit of having a crucial conversation, you won't dread having a conversation with anybody. And you can have a conversation with anybody. That's it.